Tonight, concerns for Taonga Niue, the decline of the Wangahau Niue, and information technology highlighted at this year's National Summit. New Zealand funds a $5 million energy project for Niue Power. And Premier Dalton Tainglangi is in the US to attend meetings in New York and the Pacific US Summit in Washington later this month. Whakaalofa and welcome to tonight's bulletin of BCN News. I'm Esther Pavihi. Leading the news tonight, the National Summit came to an end on Thursday last week, where concerns for the Taonga Niue and the decline of the Wangahau Niue, as well as the need to strengthen the information technology sector on the island, were highlighted. Key challenges such as human resource capacity, funding for infrastructure projects, and challenges with maintaining government assets was also widely discussed. The government also launched the midterm review of the National Strategic Plan. Here's more on that story. On the government's midterm review of the current National Strategic Plan, the 4-day week was identified as a key issue. The review pointed out that the public service serves to be the working arm of the cabinet and are the most important assets to the country. But human resource management lacked between organisation strategy and leadership to provide effective and efficient public service to the people whom they are supposed to serve. The midterm review also reported that in 2019, the International Trust Fund was used to fund part of the Manatua cable, fund lending capacity of the Niue Development Bank, and also to part fund the airport runway project. The government review did not reveal how much of the trust fund was used for each of these projects or what the current balance of the Niue International Trust Fund is, except to say that the spending has reduced the trust fund principal balance, thus reducing future interest earning and opportunities for annual budgetary support. The new format was used for the summit to focus the presentations and discussions and to encourage open dialogue. The findings from the summit and recommendations for the roadmap will be released after endorsement from Cabinet, according to the organisers of the summit. Maintenance of government infrastructure was raised as one key challenge facing the government with lack of resources and capacity. This is Clinton Chapman, the Director of Utilities, responding to concerns about asset maintenance.
We get down to those basic things. The asset management plan has highlighted those things that we need to do, down to the nuts and bolts. We just need to action those things, and it has to come down from my level to my divisional heads and the operators of the machines. We have a habit of using things and thrashing them until they die and leave it where it is. And I think it goes across to the maintenance of village buildings, for example. In each of the villages we build it and we have problems maintaining it in the long run. So that's a challenge for us in the department for sure. In terms of paying for our own work, so we really need to look at how we operate as a business and where we can make savings. Niue Power, for example, if we're going to transition into a enterprise, then we really need to factor in the cost that we have in generation and reticulation at the moment.
Thank you, Director of Utilities. I think we'll now round up our session for the morning. Can you please...
The presentation by Director of Taonga Niue, Moira Enetama, created much discussions over the decline of the Wangahau Niue and the status of the protection and promotion of Taonga Niue. The consensus, according to the organisers of the summit, is that two important key issues were highlighted over the 3 days: the growing challenges facing Taonga and Wangahau Niue and the increasing importance of technology in our daily lives and the development of Niue as a country. According to the government, the development of the roadmap is key to having continuity in the overall planning and development process. And as the government nears the end of this current National Strategic Plan, this is the appropriate time to start looking at what progress we have made and what steps we need to take in the next 3 years in developing the new plan. The current National Strategic Plan will end in 2026, and the new 10-year plan will commence in 2027. BCN News spoke with Clinton Chapman, the Director of Utilities, after the summit.
I thought it was quite a good summit. We have, I think I understand, a second part to that, to put down all the recommendations and also to analyse a bit more just what the next strategic plan is going to look like in 2 years.
Clinton Chapman said that this strategic plan is a good document, but there is a need to streamline and better collaborate in the infrastructure pillar in the next National Strategic Plan.
Well, personally, I think the existing one is a very good document. It's just that some of the areas that in the infrastructure pillar, for example, that different departments are responsible for, there needs to be more collaboration on achieving the goals required of that particular sector. For example, ICT. I mean that's used across the technologies used across the water supply, power. So we need to have more collaboration on that. That's why I'm more inclined to keep the ICT and the Broadcasting Corporation as part of infrastructure as a whole, so that they all remain in the one pillar, so that collaboration can happen in the next one. ICT obviously came up as a big item that to be looked into the future because of the lack of people here on Niue, so we have to get smarter with the use of technology.
Premier Dalton Tangilangi left the island this week, bound for New York and then Washington in his 2 weeks trip to the US. He will be attending the 78th United Nations General Assembly from the 18th to the 26th of this month in New York. In his absence, Minister Crossley Tātui is acting Premier. One of the key meetings the Premier will be attending is the Sustainable Development Goals Summit. This meeting is when heads of states and governments will gather at the UN headquarters in New York to review the implementation of the 2030 Agenda and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, and provide high-level political guidance on transformative and accelerated actions leading up to the target year of 2030. Premier Tangilangi will also be involved in a number of side events during the sitting of the 78th UN General Assembly. Also on his agenda to the United States this month, Premier Tangilangi will attend the US Pacific Islands Forum Summit in Washington from the 25th to the 26th of September. This meeting of the USA Pacific Islands Forum Summit follows on from the meeting in September last year. Premier Tangilangi was not able to attend that meeting last year. According to the statement from the Premier's office, the Niue government is nearing the completion of the process to formalise diplomatic relations with the USA. And returning to local news, the preliminary results of the 2022 population census shows a 2.2% decrease in population compared to the last census in 2017. According to the government press release, the preliminary results shows a population of 1,681, made up of 1,564 usual residents and 117 visitors to the island. It constitutes a decrease of 2.2%, or 38 people fewer than 2017. Here's Soraya Mangoa with more.
The preliminary results also show that there were 827 males and 854 females recorded. By village, Toi has the largest population increase of 88.2%, which is equivalent to an increase of 15 people from 17 in 2017 to 32 in 2022. The next population increases are the village of Alofi North of 19.1% of 30 people and Makefu of 14.1% of 9 people. The villages of Mutalo and Waiea had population decreases of 21.4% respectively. By age, the single largest age group is in the 10 to 14 years old band with 170 people, which is 10.1% of the total population. A total of 525 occupied dwellings participated in the census with the average household size of 3.2 persons. In total of the 1,015 dwellings included, there were 85 absent households, 207 vacant households, 217 derelict buildings, and 19 houses under construction. Acting Premier and Minister of Finance Crossley Tātui said the census is crucial in assisting the government understand the population structure for evidence-based decision-making. It helps determine who we are as a country and how we can shape our policies for the distribution of the limited resources available to us. Minister Tātui said there is an enormous challenge before us to realize the population level and take appropriate steps to address the long-term implications on our identity and cultural heritage.
A design team of engineers from New Zealand were on the island last week as part of a $5 million energy-funded project by the New Zealand government. The project will see additional solar farm sites installed around the island, in addition to addressing the grid instability issues still affecting power generation. Here's more. Director of Utilities Clinton Chapman said that there is much work to be done in the energy and power generation sector. He explained the visit of the engineers from New Zealand who were here on the island last week.
Yes, it's the second stage of the renewable energy assistance from the New Zealand government, amounting to some $5 million. So the team that were here basically to come and scope out what could be done with that amount of funding. Ideally, we're following our strategic plans of increasing renewable energy components from solar up to 80% by 2025. So the things that they were looking at during their mission is focusing on additional solar sites, which feeds into the grid, and also storage capacity for our battery systems. But at the same time, they're looking at some of the grid instability issues that we do still have in the system lingering. And those are the things that we can address quickly.
Chapman said that this project will help Niue Power meet some of the targets set in the National Strategic Plan, optimistic that they will be able to generate 60% of renewable energy by 2026. A key component of this $5 million project is the installation of additional solar farms in the island. The design team will submit their report at the end of this month.
By the end of the month, they will give us a design report with the different options that are available to us in terms of, where the solar sites will be, depending on the land availability, and also how putting those solars into the system, how they will affect the overall performance of the system. That's including the batteries as well as the new station. So what happens there is the design team will go away and do a modelling of all of these things that will change in the system and see how it performs, so we can avoid issues such as power fluctuations and voltage fluctuations and frequency and power factor issues along the system. We know there are systems on issues with the northern feeder, so that will be taken into account with this project.
The $5 million energy project is expected to be completed by the end of 2025. And Niue has officially established diplomatic relations with Canada. The two nations exchanged government official notes, making Canada the 24th country to establish diplomatic relations with Niue. In an official phone call on Tuesday this week between Premier Dalton Tagelangi and Canada's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honourable Melanie Joly, both expressed their appreciation in formalising diplomatic ties. The government of Niue looks forward to a fruitful and enduring relationship with the government of Canada, according to the statement. And Telecom Niue is continuing the second island fibre rollout project this week. This project, funded by the New Zealand government to the tune of $1.3 million, will connect all Telecom Niue sites and Government of Niue buildings with high-capacity 144 pair fibre. This first part of the project will lay the cable from Telecom site at Kaimisi to Niue Power and Niue High School in Paliasi, which is expected to be completed by the end of this month. Here's Soraya with more.
The second part will start in October, connecting Kaimisi to the airport and the Niue Public Service building at Fonuakula, which will be completed by the end of October. CEO of Telecom Anurag Tandon told BCN News that the second island fibre rollout project is part of a project funded by the New Zealand government and expected to take 2 years. Tandon is asking motorists to take caution when driving through the Tuila and Kaimisi roads this week as the Telecom and Niue Power teams are trenching. It may be best to avoid using this side road for this week while the trenching work is taking place. Anurag Tandon said that they are hoping to complete this phase of laying off the fibre cables before the end of October, but there may be some disruptions due to the weather and working conditions of the machinery.
And the Office of the Secretary of Government on Tuesday this week issued a public notice on the use of the Niue Public Seal, reminding the public of the appropriate and respectful use of the Niue Coat of Arms and Public Seal. The Coat of Arms and Public Seal is reserved for official government communications, documents and publications only. It should be used exclusively in the context directly related to government functions, policies and activities. Any use of the coat of arms and or public seal beyond official government purposes requires permission from the appropriate authorities. It said unauthorized use may result in penalties or legal action as deemed necessary. These guidelines are established to ensure the dignified and respectful use of the Niue coat of arms and the public seal. And 2 years ago, the Department of Utilities under the Ministry of Infrastructure started the process to review the 1960 power supply law with funding from the Ariane project. That review has culminated in the drafting of a new energy legislation which will include renewable energy and also establish a new energy authority. Director of Utilities Clinton Chapman explains.
Over the last 2 years, in collaboration with the Ariane project, managed out of the PMCU unit, we have drafted the legislation. What that entails is it's an update of the 1960 Power Supply Act. So the Energy Authority in the proposed legislation includes the bulk fuel, so that the energy sector can be managed out of one piece of legislation. But the main change to the legislation is the inclusion of renewable energy into the power supply. So, for instance, renewable energy use at household level, so building some regulations around more use of renewable energy.
The new Energy Authority will merge Niue Power Corporation and Bulk Fuel. Chapman said that the department is also looking forward to returning the management of Niue Power accounts from Treasury, a decision made several years ago due to account management concerns.
The Alofi North Women's Club hosted a show of handcrafts, fine weaving and materials yesterday morning. The event took place at the Alofi North Community Hall, where invited guests such as the New Zealand and Australia High Commissioners and Alofi North MP or Member of Parliament Tutuli Haka and Member Assisting Minister of Sinhemana Hekau attended. Women of the National Council of Women and villages representatives were also present for the festivities. Here's Soraya with more.
Minister for Social Services.
The program began with speeches. The Alofi North Women's Club expressed their thanks to all those who attended. Alofi North Village Council Chair Mrs. Rupina Morrissey also expressed her appreciation to everyone, especially to the women of her village, for their displays. Australia High Commission's Mr. William Powell also spoke.
It's clear looking around that the values of the displays here go beyond their outward beauty, but also speak to the nurturing of skill and to the maintenance of tradition and community.
There was a range of arts and handcrafts filled with joyful singing and food by the women.
Last Saturday was the first stage of Niue Rugby League tournament between the Motu side and Tafisi, which took place at the Paliasi School grounds. After weeks of training with Tafisi coach Dave Ulukita and the coach for Motu, Tolana Siatanga, the first of the 3 games kicked off. Taking an impressive lead was Team Motu, and in the final half claimed victory with 30 points to 16 for Tafisi. Here's Soraya Mangawa with more.
Niue Rugby League President Zach Smith says that the game was very tidy and a massive improvement was seen from the young ones. There were no injuries, only a few cramps towards the end of the game. The player of the match for Team Motu was Frank George Valiana, and for Tafisi was Joshua Bomale. Zach thanks both teams, coaches, players, supporters, sponsors, and also to everyone that helped out for the tournament. The second game will take place next Saturday, 23rd of September at the Paliasi School grounds.
And to end our news tonight on some good news, as of Thursday last week, the island has returned to 0 cases of COVID-19. But should you feel unwell and have flu-like symptoms, do get yourself tested. And if positive, report that status to the folks at the health department. But that is our news bulletin for tonight. Do join us again on Tuesday next week for our bulletin in Wangahau Niue. Until then, koe se pavihi. Good night. Ona foa.